Alright, so we're doing this again. There might be a little bit of background noise because I have the air filter on. You're just gonna have to deal with it. I don't know what to tell you. In October, I discovered that I can actually sketch without having to sketch on paper. That didn't make any sense out of context. So what I meant is that I can draw on my drawing program without having to have a sketch already made on paper and taking a picture of that and then transferring that into my computer, which is a long process, which makes me not want to do it so often, but you know. And then I have the picture, and then I can make it into an actual painting, an actual finished piece through my computer. I wasn't able to do that before by just using my computer only, but now I'm able to do that, and this is like an entire video about all of the drawings so far that I've made just using my computer. Well, not all of them, but you know, most of them, the majority of them that I like, that are themed basically, you know. So this first one that I ever did, I didn't actually film it. It looks like it took a long time, but I don't remember if it did. I think I did this in like one night. It's a raised poster. And the first iteration of this, I did not do a really good job at explaining this. Basically, I'm gonna start with the world. So this is a futuristic world that's set in like this cyberpunk type. The theme was cyberpunk, basically, you know? This world is kind of like in the future, so there's deserts that have these coral reefs, basically anything that was underwater before that's now out of water and is just a desert. And there is water in places that like there wasn't any before. So, you know, there's some underwater cities and stuff like that. So in this world, people have powers like quirks, like My Hero Academia type, except for the main thing of it cannot alter their body shape. Like, their power cannot have any physical alterations. It has to be something almost like telekinetic. Like, it doesn't change the way that they look, basically. Like, it cannot change how they look. It can manipulate things that are not human or that are not alive, but like it cannot change the way that they look or like how the human body functions, basically. So like let's see, Tail Guy from MHA, Ojiro, he can't exist here. So basically, the main character's name is Aerolus, and his racing name is Dune Rider, and the reason because of that is because they live in a town that's by one of these coral reef deserts, and he lives with his sister. He has a mom. I don't know what happened to the dad. I don't know what I wrote down for the dad. I think he just left. His mom kind of remarries, in quotation marks, because I don't really remember if she actually did remarry, but essentially she's got a boyfriend and she moves in with that guy, and so she kind of still pays rent on the little apartment that Aerolus and his sister are living in. His sister's name is Eden, by the way. That just for simplicity's sake. So Eden and Aerolus, they live together in this little apartment, and they basically, Eden is like his everything because Eden was basically just like his mammy figure when his mom left. She's a striving engineer, but she also has taken a few hero classes in high school. Hero classes being essentially what it is in a story like My Hero Academia. Literally just using your powers to do hero work, like being a policeman, or being a firefighter, or being just like a crime fighter in general. So it's generally the same idea, except like things like the hero suits actually have more practical uses with a lot more almost riot gear-like look to them, instead of just being aesthetic and also somewhat helpful to your actual power. Eden and Aerolus, their family controls a lot of their power, because these powers, by the way, they run in the family. So basically, you have the exact same power as your ancestors, except the main thing is that you specialize in different things. So for Eden and Aerolus, they have magnetization powers. Eden specializes in making magnetic fields. If one of their relatives specialized in making attractions, Eden would be able to learn from that relative how to do that. So it's not just like your specialty is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. No, you can learn from everybody else, but you're only going to have talent in that one area, and you're going to have to work to learn all of the other different things like that. It can make for really interesting family trees, where like you continue to learn stuff about your powers that you didn't even know before. But basically, Airless, his power, his specialty is what is one that I really like. Forgot what it was called. I finally found it. Airless specializes in superconductors, which, if you do not know that, you can look it up. There's a bunch of science videos on it. He can make superconductors. He can make something into a superconductor, or, you know, act the same, have the same exact magnetic fields as a superconductor would. However, he does not supply the liquid nitrogen, so that's where his sister Eden comes in. And his board is just like, it's connected to like canisters that he has that he can use to freeze the actual superconductor on the bottom of it. So I would say like the bottom is all black and it's just something that he's created into a superconductor, and then the top is what chills it and what essentially moves all of the liquid nitrogen over it to keep it cold. And he rides on desert dunes. As you can see from the painting, he is literally in winter wear. Why? Because it gets cold when you're working with liquid nitrogen. I would assume that too. And I would assume that even though he's riding on what would be considered desert dunes, it's not actually that hot. One of the things that is part of a superconductor is having that magnetic track, and like I said, Eden specializes in making magnetic fields. So one of the things that she does, because she is also why did I not clarify this before? So the board that you see in this is not a skateboard, it's not a snowboard, it is actually a hoverboard. The sport is called land surfing. At least that's what I'm calling it right now. It's called land surfing, and basically it's like you have a hoverboard, it cannot touch the ground. I mean, it can, but like, you know, for the most part of the race, or like the most part of whatever the heck you're doing, it cannot touch the ground. It doesn't touch the ground. It's literally like how people envision hoverboards in the future. So both of them are land surfers. So that's why, that's what I mean by superconductors. That would make sense to say that, like, yeah, this is a hoverboard. And Eden, of course, knows how to make magnetic tracks, and that's how she makes her board, which is she has one type of charge on the bottom of her board, and then the track that she lays, the magnetic field that she lays out to make like a track to map out where she goes, is that of the exact same charge. She has to be really careful with like tight turns, because her board can literally just like yeet itself off of the track. Whereas for Airless, it's a little bit harder for his to do that, because superconductors generally don't yeet themselves off of their track, and in fact they can still stay on the track upside down. Eden has taught him how to make these magnetic fields, these magnetic tracks, and that's how he does what he does. So Eden is actually scouted for how well she did in her hero class, not because of her being an engineer, unfortunately. And so she's called to this big city, and she brings her little brother along, because her little brother is like a freshman in high school. Like, she cannot just leave him in this place alone. And so they get the okay from their mom to go to this big city, and basically she's already doing work. She's like already in college. She just tells Airless like, hey, I'm not gonna be home all the time, and one day, someday, I might not even come home after work. Like, I might just never come back and you might never see me again. So I need you to do something to occupy yourself so that you won't be alone and won't be bored when I'm gone. His school that he goes to, or that he's supposed to go to, it offers land surfing. It has like a land surfing team, like a team for the hoverboards. It's a fairly new team, actually. It was like made that year. She sees that and she's like, hey, that's a good idea, you should join. He doesn't, but you know, there are really famous land surfers in this city who also take notice of Airless's presence and his ability to be a good land surfer. They've scouted him out. Yeah, they've scouted him out for racing specifically, which is what the Neon District racing poster is. Essentially, the neon poster, if you guys can see that. It's with this girl. She has 07 on her face. This is one of the racers. She didn't actually scout out Airless herself. She is one of the other racers. I have done some ideas for her character, being that she works at a motorcycle shop. She's like the head of the motorcycle shop. Like, she's the best engineer, the best auto mechanic there. And whenever people come in and they have a really hard task that none of the other auto mechanics can deal with, they always go to her because she usually knows how to deal with it. She's a land surfer, of course, and she's well known for being fairly anonymous with her helmet that she doesn't wear here because I wanted to show off her face. And her racing name is Pathogen. The second guy, who I'm pretty sure has been playing for the last few minutes, his racing name is Flight. His normal name is Tenfis, and he actually becomes the really, really good friend of Aerolus, because I think like after the first race, at least, he scouts out Aerolus to basically make friends. I've made the decision that he actually likes Aerolus. There's a lot of purple doing this. So this right here is actually a racing card, because I realized that making these posters is a little bit too difficult to have like a full body type shit and have to make these poses. That's what the one for Dune Rider was, and that's what this one is for. And I went ham on all of these signatures by the racing cards because I think it's really nice. I think it gives it a good touch. Anyways, this is just to like promote the racer. His jacket is blue, but I changed it to like a gray color, but I'm not sure which one I like more. I'd say the gray color because it is kind of like, you know, a restricted color palette. It looks a little bit nicer, and the blue just seemed out of place to me because I did not have any other blue colors in the scene, so
always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so
this next racing poster is Mass Turbulence. The idea for this one is it's like a plane crash, like you're racing around jungle and where the site of a plane crash. The character on this one, his name is Storm Chaser, and his power is like basically just controlling wind. I wrote it down in detail, but I kind of forgot, and so I had a really difficult time like figuring out what was I supposed to make for this character. I know that he has kind of like these pocket fin things, almost like the guy from How to Train Your Dragon when he starts like flying in the air, you know, that type of stuff, so like he can catch the wind. Basically it's like he summons a really big gust of wind. That force is equal to like his force in gravity. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not a physics teacher, excuse me. And his board looks like a kite, which I thought was pretty funny. I don't like this racing poster. I feel like it might be better if I just flip the entire canvas and it won't be portrait, it will be landscape. Wait, okay. But he is also one of the more anonymous ones because he has a helmet on, and this suit was also based off of actual skateboarding suits that they do for longboarding down hills, I think.
I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah.
this guy, who I actually really like the design for. Both this one and like his normal civilian design. So his raising name is Nicotine, and the reason because of that is because he can make jets of smoke propel things through the air, and he just uses smoke. It's not like any bad smoke, it's just like fire smoke, if that makes sense. Like, you know, one of those smoke bombs, that's exactly what I modeled off the little canisters on his skateboard thing, his hoverboard. There we go, I forgot the name for it. So his hoverboard I'm actually really proud of. If he was into skateboarding, his board, or like in skateboard terms, his hoverboard is the same size as a penny board. And the reason behind that is because he mainly rides in like jungles and stuff. And so when you're in a jungle, like there's a lot of really, really small spaces. And he's not a small guy, but you know, to make it a little bit easy on himself, he usually just like scrunches down low to his board, and his board is pretty small so that he can just glide through the trees and make those quick turns. I like how this one came out. It was pretty good. There we go. I think that's it. Thank you for listening. I might as well ask, because like, subscribe if you want more content like this. I haven't been saying that at all, and I don't plan to say that ever again, but you know, this is a story that I'm pretty fucking psyched about. I most definitely might make it into a comic. Yeah, you can tell that I haven't done this in a while.